Hello, John Stacy here, coming to you from the church I work at, where I sometimes record my short videos. Today I want to tell a story and give a little bit of information about something that's a bit unusual about my playing. Essentially, short version, I have very little conscious control over any of this while I'm playing because of nerve damage I sustained a long time ago. And, I'll kind of get into more about how that happened, but whenever I'm playing, everything that happens with the lower lip and like down here is all reactionary to what's happening up here. I can't really consciously control it. Like whenever I'm talking, you can kind of see that my lip moves when my jaw moves because I have control a little bit of the lip, but like it's very inconsistent. So like my embouchure style is done almost exclusively by manipulating top lip and these muscles. And, it leads to some interesting things. I can do some things really well. Like I have a really good low range and, I have a lot of control when I play really loud, but like I have somewhat poor flexibility and I have a lot of trouble changing ranges. So like the Heldenleben excerpt, that excerpt is extremely difficult for me. And so anytime I have to play it for an audition or anything, I have to actually like get in the zone and be working 100% mentally focused or it just falls apart. And it doesn't matter how much I've practiced it. So there's a lot of excerpts like that I struggle with, and you'll probably never hear me play on shorts because, let's watch John Stacy fail. So if I'm really focusing, I can make it happen. Etc. And I can make it work, but that's like taking all my mental bandwidth just to make that opening arpeggio work. So that's kind of what has led to a lot of struggles, not only a horn, but the other instruments, One of these days I'm going to make a video on playing trombone. But so anyways, the story behind this, I don't know if you'll be able to see this on camera, but I have a scar right here. And whenever I was a senior in high school, I had two surgeries done on my throat. One was on one side and the other was on the other. And this was what was to correct a bilateral laryngocele, which if you've ever seen Dizzy Gillespie and how his throat puffed out when he played, that's what that is. In my case, there are some little glands, sacs on the vocal cords that are about this big, and because of connective tissue disorders I've had since birth, what happened is that they would catch the air and inflate. And this happened in going into my senior year of high school because a lot of those tissues just tired out and they just gave out basically. So whenever I was playing, especially if I was playing really high or really loud, my throat would puff a lot. And you see a lot of musicians with this, so it's like, it can't be that bad. In my case, they took an x-ray whenever I was doing the Valsalva maneuver, which is where you breathe out and close off everything. You're doing that whenever you play, but that's the technical term. So whenever I did a Valsalva maneuver, you'll see basically they saw that the windpipe made an S. So whenever I was puffed up because of the laryngocele, it was actually bending my windpipe in a way that they didn't feel comfortable with. And so it was like, well, do you want to be do you really want to be a musician? Do you want to go off? And I was like, yes, I do. And my parents were supportive and my band directors were supportive. And so what happened is on April 20th, I know the first one was April 20th. I had the first surgery done, and it was supposed to be both sides, and it was going to be 3 hours, fix it, get in, get out, graft some cartilage, but things went wrong, and it was a 10-hour surgery for just one side. And in the process, they basically had to rebuild that side of the larynx. And then a month later, they came back and they did the other side. And whenever they did the other side, that was also a complicated surgery. It was 8 hours, um, you know, much longer than expected, because this one, they thought that with everything that they had learned from this side, as to my specific physiology, they'd be able to apply it, but it was different on this side. Essentially, I can't remember which one it was. One of them, everything went outside the muscle, and everything on the other side, it went inside the muscle. So some byproducts of this, for one, a lot of this had to be rebuilt, and so I don't really have a falsetto anymore when I sing. And so anytime that I'm singing, I'm basically pushing the chest voice all the way up. And I have a change register still, I still have that frog register for things want to change, but I don't really have a usable falsetto. So that's one thing. For another, you listen to my voice, there are a few recordings from before then. It sounds one way, and now it sounds different after that. And so I kind of wonder what I would have sounded like with no surgery. But the thing that's relevant to my playing is that there was nerve damage here, somewhat extensive. And this was 2011 was when this was done, April and May of 2011. It took me until last year, which is 2024, to start actually feeling things here again. I could feel pressure. I could feel that I was pushing there, but I couldn't feel this touch. Or if I cut myself when shaving, I didn't feel it at all. And I've spent a lot of time, especially while doing my doctorate, getting my embouchure to work much more efficiently. And I started to get aperture control down to an absolute science for this. And so my lip will move reactionary to a lot of stuff that's happening around, but if I want to do the saxophone thing where you push your lip in like this, I have to focus to do that. I can't. So anytime I'm playing saxophone or clarinet, I am using a lot of thought to make that embouchure happen. And, same thing with horn. If I were to play a note, and then I were to take the mouthpiece off, so you could see what kind of setup I have, it basically looks like this. And so the aperture is done completely by blowing stuff over the bottom lip. And so it's a downstream, which is pretty normal for horn players. But then as I go up and down the range, you can see that this doesn't really move. Everything I'm doing is all top lip. And there's some plus sides to that. My embouchure is crazy efficient, but the downside to that is that if I'm not playing with 100% efficiency, my embouchure just falls apart. So if I am mentally having a hard day, I'm really tired, or I've had to do a lot, or I didn't sleep well the night before, physically if I'm not having a good day, usually sleep, but also if I've just been doing a lot of physical work throughout the day, then my embouchure just doesn't work. It just completely falls apart. So it's as long as it's working at that efficiency, I have nearly unlimited endurance, so that's kind of a plus. But, the downside is that if it's not working that day, I have about 30 seconds to a minute of endurance before I just start airballing everything, so it's pretty wild, and that's why, anytime that I'm playing a lot of these excerpts, unless I'm pushing them every day, a lot of times the last time I played was the last excerpt. So today is the first excerpt I played in over a week. So this is the first time I've played in a week, So being able to just throw the horn up to the face and play and make it work is great. But I just got back from a vacation where I didn't really sleep very well, so it's not really working. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of share that story. And, for the 3 of you who watch my videos, I hope you enjoy it. But otherwise, this is mainly for whenever I tell the story later, I can just link this video. But anyways, bye.